Welcome to the Dog and Gus Show now on Feel It Radio.
Hey, what's up, dog?
Not much, Gus. You?
Oh, having a nice little afternoon here. It's not scorching hot. It's not cold. It's not raining. It's not a tornado that I was in last week, which was good times.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we have a tremendous guest on with us.
We do.
Yeah, we're lucky to have her. We met her at the Ottawa Music Awards, the Capital Music Awards, my apologies. And, of course, she won. So there was that. And then we got to have a few minutes with her. But we have Danielle Allard here.
Hello, Dog. Hello, Gus. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, thanks for coming and being in your studio, the famous Twitch studio that's right there, right?
It's strange that the basement that I make music out of has become weirdly iconic. But yeah, we're here in the basement. Live
That's
with
so
you.
awesome, though. Yeah. We appreciate your time. We've been listening to your music, actually kind of getting ready to speak with you, and we were just sort of like, it's so nice and calming, you have a very nice sound. We love it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what got you into, was it because of COVID, or when did you start doing the Twitch account, just making music in your basement?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very long story, but I guess the short version of that is by day I'm a teacher. So I do music and I essentially kind of run this music business full time, but I also teach full time as well. So it can be a lot to manage. And in 2020, I mean, all of our shows were canceled. And on top of that, that part of my life was kind of on hold. The teaching had kind of all gone virtual as well. And all of these shows that my students had been pouring their time into had been canceled. The studio on campus was being closed. I mean, there's just a lot of uncertainty and a lot of worry. And I was also working in a public relations program as well. So they were going to be running charity events and we're going to be having some open mics with them. And everything just within a 48-hour period was canceled and everybody was very upset. And I thought, you know what? I've been talking to them about social media and going live and things like this for so long. So don't worry. We're just going to have a 48-hour turnaround and we're going to do the thing online. So I just decided to try going live on Facebook and Instagram as kind of a replacement for one of the events that had been canceled, just to bring everybody together in the only way I could kind of figure out how. And at the same time, we were kind of looking forward and seeing, this might go on for a little bit. And so I might be having to teach stage performance on Zoom.
Yeah.
What does that look like? How am I going to go in front of these people and talk about one day when we're on stage again, in theory, this is what you're going to be doing. And especially because that first stream was such a big moment and it was so nice to have this access to my family and friends when we couldn't leave the house. So, all right, I'm enjoying this. Maybe I can teach my students some of this weird streaming thing, and at least they've got this hope and this practice space and this place and time to be in a time when we didn't really know what day or time it was, right? Every day just felt the same for so long. So just experimenting on those different platforms. By May, I had decided I'm going to just go live on Twitch and see what that is and see what the buttons are and learn a little bit about the lingo and the culture and bring that back to my classes. But it just spiraled wildly out of control from the very first stream. So been there since 2020 and definitely not looking back.
No, I wouldn't suspect so. I mean, you have a huge following. You call them the dinos. I love that, right? So, dog can ask about the dinosaurs, but where did it,
I want to.
Yeah, you should. I think, yeah. Because we obviously we had that quick chat and at the Capital Music Awards, and you were still kind of reeling because you just won, and it was just so nice to catch up with you, and you're so engaging. And then all of a sudden, there was something discussed about how much you love dinosaurs, and so dog was talking about it earlier, eh?
Yeah. I want to know who your friend is in the frame there.
I mean, which one? I was is Dog currently looking at the bowl of dinosaurs to my left?
I can only see one from the
Stuffy, Stuffy there.
Oh, this one we got Rio.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a Triceratops named Rio, beloved by the community. Yeah, that holding up the bowl of smaller dinosaurs. Yes.
Very cool.
An equally long story, I guess.
Please. we appreciate you. We need to know it all. We need to know it all, Danielle.
Well, in that case, I think that we've all seen those inflatable T-Rex videos online, right? They'd been around for years and years. And every time I saw one, they were just the best. And I needed to see them all, so people got used to tagging me in all these videos. And finally, a couple years just before 2020, a friend gifted me an inflatable T-Rex costume that I had the joy of just running around Ottawa in. And again, another thing out of 2020 was this moment where we were all like, this is magical, and we're all coming together, and the world is healing. And then a couple weeks later, it was like, oh, things are bad, not healing, and the internet is the only place we can exist right now, and it's become a lot to deal with. I didn't even expect the things that were coming out online. And so I thought, you know what, let's fill the internet full of whatever art we can make. So every Sunday for years now, we've had an art prompt. We all make art, we share it, and that's what we're contributing to the news feed. And I also started doing things just like, you know, vacuuming the house in my T-Rex costume, just to be like something online that isn't all of that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. But then that kind of became a thing with some folks who were joining me on live streams. They're like, no, that's not really you in the T-Rex suit, and you have to do your next video doing a backflip, and that's going to prove to us that you're the actual T-Rex. I was like, well, my back doesn't do that. So in lieu of that, if we hit this crazy milestone while we're streaming, I will wear the inflatable T-Rex costume and attempt to play piano. Spoiler alert, you can't. Yeah, spoiler alert, you can't play piano with tiny T-Rex hands. But it was just this thing that kind of spiraled into our community lore. So there's a lot of dinosaurs around me right now that I promise I haven't always owned this amount of dinosaurs.
It's just sort of evolved into that, right? Yeah, it's now part of your. That's just you, who you are. You're a dinosaur, but not in the best way possible. In the best way possible. Not like in the really bad way. Like not like dog. Yeah. Right? Dog's a dinosaur, so you know.
I do feel that way around this technology sometimes. I do. It humbles me.
It seems like yeah. It's funny you say that. I found now that we kind of incorporated more video into like actually videoing the entire episodes, and what a challenge. Like you want to take something on new that's new and helpful, but it really tested my patience. I'm sure you were the same way, right?
Oh yes, I mean, if you need a piece of advice moving forward, just shed one single magical tear, and that has somehow helped some of my technical issues. Yeah, just crying on the gear, just cry.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I tend to. I'm more anger. Right? Yeah, it's not good. It's like, and I'm really calm and patient traditionally, and then all of a sudden I'll just be like in technological hell is what I'll call it. So tell us about Invader. Invader is the new album, the new video series, right?
Yes, it is. And I mean, speaking of inflatable T-Rexes, there's a few Easter eggs in the series if you're interested in possibly spotting an inflatable T-Rex. But Invader was this kind of beautiful project that I've always wanted to make, and I never had the time or resources or support to make it. I mean, you see these incredible bands and incredible projects creating these concept albums. So I was like, wow, like what an incredible way to tell a story, and the fact that it's just this kind of non-stop listening experience. And something that I'd started doing while we were streaming is tackling like a lot of the musical goals that, again, I'd never had the time or support to kind of push myself through it. So now, I mean, I'm gonna flip cameras just so you can see the space that we're in, and there's a lot of like synthesizers around and a ton of different instruments. And what I've been doing is there's this little loop pedal down here to my right, and learning this thing called live looping that some artists are just crazy talented at doing, and you're just kind of creating these orchestral arrangements on your own. And since all of a sudden, not only could I not have a band supporting me on stage, I was doing everything solo, having to do my own camera and lights and audio, why not learn to be the whole band too? So starting to do that and writing loops, it kind of helped me to start thinking about music in loop form. So what would that whole concept album look like? So the entire album actually is a loop from beginning to end. Like the beginning sounds you're hearing is the same thing you're hearing at the end of the album. But it was also inspired by the first song that I'd ever written live on stream, and that was kind of inspired by this gift that's at the back there. So some of the incredible members of our community got together to send me a handpan, which is a very interesting instrument to try to learn how to play, but it looks so much like a spaceship. So we said, okay, we're going to write this song. It's going to be in D minor because that's what the handpan's tuned to. And it's got to obviously be a song about space. And that kind of sparked this whole journey down this album called Educator. It's got a lot of this kind of rolly seaboard sound on it. So a little bit like this, like real spacey.
Oh, I love it. We listened to a few, but yeah.
Yeah,
so
and
cool.
Getting to mess around with something like that kind of guided the sound of the album too. But this was a project that was so supported by so many people live that we started a Patreon, we started going to the studio, and we actually wrote Educator, a lot of it live, released it all live, and then when we were in the studio, I lived in the studio for a week to record it. And it was just Dean and I quarantined for a week together, working through a lot of that, and we recorded all of the instruments together. I did all of the vocals on the whole album, and we had Jason Colson from a distance just sending in a couple of drum tracks for 2 of the songs. So it was a pretty intense project for both of us to take on, and turned into that 6-video series that we filmed last summer and released in the fall. So from beginning to end, the whole project was about a year of very intense labor, and very much so worth it.
So worth it, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I like it a lot.
She looks like she's in the Space Command Center over there, doesn't she? Yeah.
A little bit.
You are welcome here. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Got a
Gotta
very
go to the
60s
control
vibe
center.
to it. I'm looking for a lava lamp somewhere in the.
Yeah, it's
Well,
very,
dinosaur
very,
lava,
very funky,
you know,
very fun.
you know.
I love it.
There's a little
That's the
dinosaur on our
next
desk.
investment is lava
There you
lamp.
go.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we can send you one, Danielle.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll send you one.
Only if it says Dog and Gus on the side.
Oh, could be a new merch item. The Dog and Gus lava lamp.
Because Gus needs a lot more of that stuff to think about.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff. I'm all about. I don't know. It's just it's fun to create different marketing ideas. I mean, the logo that we chose obviously does suit us, and yeah, no, it's. Do you find that interesting too? Like doing your own little merch and just figuring out what works for your brand essentially, and how you want to see it out there. Is that how it works, or do you just sort of use your art Sundays and do you sell some of those items on your website, or how do you look at merch as far as for yourself?
And that's a great question, and it's something that I do take very seriously. It has been like a huge source of income for me to make music as well. And so something that we started almost a year ago now is a shop with Fourth Wall, and we became Fourth Wall partners. And so if anybody does want to do merch and do it really effectively, this is the best way that I've found. And they do live gifting when we're on stream as well. So people are so sweet, and they'll come to stream and they'll say, hey, I like this mug and I want everybody to have a chance to win. So they will start a giveaway just while I'm mid-song, and then people can put the command in the chat to enter the giveaway. And some stranger somewhere in the world wins a mug from some other stranger somewhere in the world, which is magical.
It is magical.
It's the only place that I found that does something like that. But we're going to be designing merch tonight on stream, and we sell a ton of different things, including even my albums in our merch store, digital products like video if people want custom videos, or birthday shout outs for friends and things. I've got coaching sessions and virtual concerts people can book through the shop too. So the concept of digital products and things people can download. And I never thought that I would do anything like this, but we just launched visual art in the shop, so people can buy prints of my art there as well. So it's this one-stop place where people can just find whatever it is they're looking for, from merch to prints to digital products, and book me for things. And yeah, very, very important. A lot of work, I know. It's a lot of work. But I can't say enough for musicians getting a little bit more comfy, kind of taking charge of their kind of visual representation on all of these platforms too. Like you've got things like Canva where you can go and you can create all those awesome banners and keep things consistent with your branding and things like that. But being able to make your own assets and get comfortable like drawing things, we don't need to limit what we do as musicians to just I write songs and release them. There's so many avenues you can take.
So true. That's awesome.
Yeah, really. I just wonder when you guys sleep. That's my question. There's just so much going on and like Gus is a lot more technically savvy than me, which is sad to say because sometimes he struggles and I just don't have a clue. So he's
supportive. He's very supportive.
I'm just like I try, but I can't wrap my head around this stuff. We were talking about Thread the other day and whether we should do it or not. And he sent me a video, and I'm watching the video, and I'm like,
it's like it's literally learning a new language, right? Yeah. And I'm sure it's how you felt early on, and still as you add new things to your plethora of things that you're doing. You basically have to learn it first and then try it out. But the best way to learn is just, say fuck it and go do it, right? I mean, looking at your studio and how you created basically this amazing channel for people to go and be positive and have great music and have a place to go where they can be, artistically free. I think must be so gratifying for you. I mean, I think that would be such a nice thing for you because COVID was such a challenge with everybody obviously taking. Like I never even heard of Zoom before, and then all of a sudden I was on Zoom meetings and Zoom calls with family across the country, and it's funny how you pivoted and you've kind of created this amazing thing. I love it. I really I can't say enough about it. But did you find that time challenging, or were there some things that came up that you kind of questioned what you were doing, or was there any challenges?
Oh my goodness. I mean, still every day we're always learning, and it is every time you take on a new platform, it's a new language, it's a new culture, which is again why I was trying to experiment with Twitch and share that with my students, because a lot of what I'm teaching are kind of social media management for musicians and for public relations professionals and certain marketing courses. It's kind of a range of things that I'm kind of thrown into at the college during the day. Like, okay, and you're in this program now, and now we're going to have you over here, and you're going to go over there. But it is just a case of going in and not being afraid to fail. And we have that when we're kids. Like, we're fine to throw ourselves face first down a slide for some reason. And it gets harder as we get older to go and do these things and fail. And so there were certain things like live looping. I would fail every single time I tried to do that on my own. And I had that as a goal of mine for like 5 years before I'd ever streamed. And all of a sudden there was this community of people there that were coming to streams and saying like, oh, you want to try to do this? I was like, yeah, but it's impossible. And I'm probably going to spend like 3 hours in front of you failing. I'm going to press the wrong button 5 million times. And still to this day, I press wrong buttons. I accidentally punch the piano. You're going to do things wrong, but it's really, really nice and comforting to find this community of people who celebrate when you do things wrong. And because that was so important for me, we kind of put these things into place in the community and organizing our own community festival. And we have Learn Squad sessions, and we have tons of stuff on our Discord to encourage everybody to go and do the scary thing. Which I felt like that's what I was doing with my students, is kind of just like shepherding them along, and okay, you're going to go and you're going to do your first performance at the end. But all of a sudden it's like, and now you're going to do your first live stream, which it feels infinitely scarier because the level of technology, right? And they're home alone and we're all trying to do this from a distance. So just going and doing the scary thing and knowing you're going to fail because it's a thing you're doing for the first time. But it makes it easier when there's a community of people who are like, yes, you pressed the wrong button, or like, yes, we broke your OBS and the stream is offline and now you're coming back online, and we're all there to be like, yay, you're back. It takes the scary away from those things when people are just going to think that's great, because you're not going to do it right the first time. There's no way. And when you're streaming, I love it because you're going to spend like at least 12 hours a week with me. People have the option of spending. I don't know why they choose that, but some people do. And you get to know someone so well, right? Like you see them in like the worst, most stressful situations. You get to see who that person is in those moments, and kind of support them through that. So we've helped a lot of friends get started streaming, and that makes me very, very happy because it has been life-changing for me as a musician, and it kind of feels like I finally found my place. And yeah, it took over 30 years. So anybody who's just starting, if you've only been on this path for a little bit, there's so many times the music industry is going to kick you down. Still for me to this day. I mean, I had a really rough March, April, not only being like too sick to be able to do my job, which is terrifying for us as creatives, but also just getting rejection after rejection for everything we've been applying for in like January, February. So you might also see my journey and think, oh, wow, well, I won't ever be there and her life is perfect. And that's never the way it's going to be. There's so much that happens behind the scenes. So I think you just got to keep going. You got to try to find some consistency to your practice. And then things eventually fall into place, which we wrote about and released on that last album.
Yeah.
Well, it just the tenacity just reveals character, right? Like if you give up, then what does that say? What?
Oh, wow.
Look at me, huh?
That's a great one.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Tenacity,
cool.
Reveals
Reveals character.
Good for you. I love that.
It's true. It's gonna be on a T-shirt.
Well, you could be.
Let me write that down before I forget it.
Yeah, there you go. There's a merch
No,
idea.
well,
Write it down.
we have it here. It's gonna be.
Oh, it's gonna be here.
It'll be out forever.
It's there.
Yeah.
My thoughts are there.
So, you have an upcoming concert, or you're doing Spark Street at Songs from the Shed, right? And on the 25th.
Yes.
Dog's been a few times. We've been working with Mike for it as well, which is great. And it just seems like such a great event. Like I feel like it's such a good idea. And
Yes.
again, it's, we're like, as you said, you were evolving into your own space and how you were going to fit in, and you fit in perfectly where you are. And then being able to go live as well, and then have that avenue. I find Ottawa has really embraced live music for artists that are from Ottawa or visiting Ottawa that aren't, the big shows, of course, there's the large artists, but the local artists are really getting a place to play more now than ever. Would you agree?
Well, I would say absolutely in the last couple of years, and I even had the joy of doing City Sounds a few years ago. I did the Encore Ottawa series as well, so it's been really nice, those opportunities that have been created with us. And not only am I doing Songs from the Shed, but I am co-producing a show with Mike on August 3rd at Live on Elgin, which I'm very excited about. Because that's part of the City Sound series once again, which is great, but it was really nice that I had a chance and kind of like bringing Mike and one of my absolute most favorite music venues ever, Live on Elgin, together. And you were talking about kind of like the streaming and the live performing, and I'm really hoping this is going to be unique in the city because we're going to be blending Twitch and IRL gigs for that. So we're going to be doing a little show outside of live, featuring Jason Colson, and we're going to be streaming from Jason's channel on Twitch for the duration of that. Melissa and I are going to do pop-up couple songs, kind of show everybody what's happening inside live that evening, and then we're all going to head in, and while we're going into the venue, Jason is also going to be rating my channel on Twitch. So it's like there's going to be that like in-person venue-to-venue swap, and then it's happening virtually online. So people are going to be able to chat with us while we're on stage, so actually asking questions of the artists while they're performing, and also just be in the room while it's all happening. So I'm very excited for the 25th, for the 3rd, and I'm also going to be doing a charity event for some of my students on July 27th at the Rainbow. So we're going to be raising money for the Parkdale Food Center, which is exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
July is just like jam-packed full of stuff to do.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Ottawa, baby. We're going.
I
We're going.
got such a
Yeah.
busy week this week, man.
Those summer months. Yeah, we got to pack it in.
We got this today. Going to go down to the Shed tomorrow. Wednesday, I'm doing a trivia night to raise money for a ball team to go to provincials.
Nice.
Thursday, back to the Shed. Friday, going to be at the stadium.
The ball game for your birthday.
Yeah.
The SRC Dog's birthday is on Friday.
Happy birthday.
There you go,
Thanks.
yeah. And
Well,
yeah,
are
so
you
it's-
recording another podcast between now and then, or do we need to sing happy birthday for Dog?
Oh, please sing happy birthday. You have such
Do
a
we have
beautiful
to sing?
voice.
We have to sing happy birthday for Dog. We can
Okay.
do that.
Well, should I bring in my no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, do it.
No, I'm kidding it with Danielle. She's got
It's your first duet. Do it.
No.
Happy birthday to. Happy birthday to
you.
Happy birthday, dear.
That's beautiful.
Happy birthday to.
Woo!
And many more.
That was awesome. Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
she has a stellar voice.
She does.
Oh my God, I just love it.
Thank
So, would you say a little whimsical question, if I may?
I don't think she does whimsy, but we'll try.
Oh, look at that room. It's whimsical. That's
that
pure
was a
whimsy.
joke,
I
man.
love it. I love it.
I mean, I said that I performed in a T-Rex costume once, but that's a lie. It's dozens of times at this point. I don't do whimsy, though.
I really want to. I gotta have to go back and watch that one for sure.
For sure.
I'm kind of into. I'm into the T-Rex costume. Not to say too much. If you were to say, are you introverted or extroverted? I think that you find that you combine the two, or are you introverted mostly, or are you extroverted?
I think we have a little bit of both, but it's kind of dependent on where you get your energy from, right? So you're always going to need that certain amount of rest and that certain amount of socializing. I err on the side of introversion just because I need quiet to recover, and streams can really take a lot out of you. Performing really takes a lot out of you. Teaching really takes a lot out of you. So one thing I have enjoyed is the amount of rest that I have been able to get, kind of not being out 7 nights a week and doing nonstop work the way that I was before. I work really hard now and a lot, but it's in a different way that doesn't require so much of me, I feel. Which has been good, but I think that all introverts can learn that extroversion. That was something that I really had to push myself out of. I was very, very quiet and a very strange child, and I just continue to be a strange adult. I mean, this is a very quick talk, but spend more time with me. I'm sure you'll see it. So I
don't see
think
it.
that
Nope.
you can no, nothing strange to see. Just don't make eye contact with my handpan stand, which for some reason has faces on it. Other than that,
Don't ever change. Don't ever change. No. You're charming as ever.
So I think that the learning the extroversion for introverts is something that's really important, and that's why I went to university for communication. I was like, how do you do this? And that's why the things that I'm most passionate about teaching are that kind of stage performance and the confidence and public speaking and getting up and pushing yourself through that scary thing enough that it isn't like life-ending every time you try to do it, that you convinced your brain that we're not going to die, it's going to be okay, we can go do this, and it's going to be fine. And it sometimes takes just a little bit more practice for some.
You're looking at me because you want me to agree to that, right?
You are introverted,
I am.
and you and I'm not.
I do agree with
Good
that.
combination, but I definitely agree that I become like I learned how to be introverted because I do need the quiet after. I do exude a ton of energy I get it all from others, so I really enjoy being around people, and I'm super I'll go and approach people and say, why don't you come on our podcast, and Dog now is definitely learning how to be extroverted. So you said that perfectly, actually, Danielle.
Yeah.
Only because I went through the same process, Dog. So
Yeah,
I'm
I do
very
need my
proud of all the
time
work
just
with
to-
the podcast.
I find it exhausting sometimes sitting beside this guy.
Well,
I'm teasing, and I joke.
it's because of my
Do I need to leave the room?
No. It's it's the pheromones that I give off.
So darn handsome.
And humble, actually.
That's what drew me to you, your humbleness.
Humility. Wow.
Delightful.
What are you pointing at?
Ask her something.
I already did.
There you go.
Okay, podcast over.
Well, she's got
Still
nothing
got
more to
for
say.
20 minutes at least.
She's got nothing more to say.
No.
Oh
I
my
like-
goodness, I talk for a living. Whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. Growing up, what were you like your biggest influence music-wise? Like, who did you kind of look at and go, I want to be that person, or I want to be like that person?
So I was really lucky, and I think I've always loved to do everything arts. So I really struggled in kind of finding out where to channel that, and actually my very poor self-esteem and my lack of confidence in myself actually sent me down the path of singing. Because I loved doing dance and theater, and I loved visual arts, and I did a lot of writing to sort through my many feelings. And I started taking vocal lessons because I really wanted to go to Canterbury High School. I really wanted to go there. I had no idea what that was, but I had such a brutal time of elementary school that actually the principal of the school took me aside and told me about the school and thought that I would do much better in an environment like that than the environment that I'd been on, and helped me prepare. But I'd been told that it was really hard to get into other programs, but it was a lot easier to get into the vocal program. Looking back on that, I don't know how that would be true at all, but I was like, oh, well, if the other ones are really hard to get into, I won't even try, because then I won't be accepted into the school. So I was really lucky that I had that musical influence in my life, which was the principal at the school. And my father had volunteered for the Ottawa Jazz Festival. So for many, many years, he was in charge of transportation, so organizing all of the cars to get the artists from the airport and back and forth, and too busy to really deal with us in the summer. So he was busy, so he'd be like, okay, it's 6 a.m. and you're here, and you're being dropped off, and we just like sat in Confederation Park for 10 days of every summer for many years on end. And he'd be like, okay, just go, you're like, this volunteer is gonna watch you and make sure that you're fine. And like, I'd find myself sitting in the back of the car with like Tony Bennett.
Wow.
This is fun. This is great. And Tony Bennett's wearing like this very fancy suit, and he's doing this great sound check, and he was super nice. And sometimes there would be times where I'm just like little 7 or 8-year-old me running around Confederation Park, and there were some artists that are like, okay, she's ours for the day, and they'd be like my babysitters, and I'd just be going around with the artists of the day.
Amazing.
And it was only when I started getting older that I kind of understood the magnitude of all of this. And I started writing like little daily wrap-ups for the volunteers of things that happened, and we post them around the backstage area and the trailers. And I started understanding what the artists were doing, and a little bit more about what this 10 days was. And it was artists like Tony Bennett, Diana Krall, like those artists, seeing them, I was just so heavily inspired to do what they were doing. But I think that the biggest moment for me was actually being backstage, and I had to look after Kelly Lee Evans' children. So they were running around backstage, and Kelly Lee Evans and her husband were just like the most incredibly kind people. And I just saw this woman doing like a 6 p.m. show, Ottawa Jazz Fest, and she was up in the crowd walking through, forcing everybody to get up and dance. And I was like, wow, like the power of the microphone and like what she was using the microphone for was so inspiring. And you don't see that all the time, right? Like you see artists, they have this incredible platform, and you're like, use it for good, use it for change, use it to make a statement and say something. And so seeing Kelly Lee Evans at such a young age, and she was Ottawa, and she was just everything that I wanted to be. So a huge moment in my career was actually this year, because I did Encore Ottawa, and my segment was back to back with Kelly Lee Evans. And I was like, that is like a huge moment in your career when like you're like back to back with somebody who inspired you. And I ended up going to a couple of her shows a few years later in my teen years. And no matter where you saw her, like she knew your name. She remembered like where she met you. Like it's just that level of care is huge. So definitely a lot of jazz influences, and some of my first shows were like the jazz festival jams in my teen years and stuff like that. So weird that I'm now making like electro synth pop, but you can definitely hear a lot of the jazz influences in my music just because of those early years.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's nice. Sometimes meeting your heroes are like, even though it was full circle and she remembered your name and everything, that's so nice, right? Sometimes when you meet them later, they're not who they were, I guess. And I think that's great, isn't it?
Stay humble.
Stay humble, man. Yeah. Like, and you're so right. There's some, I think some artists come out and they just sort of do the show and then they leave, and they don't really interact. And I just find that I always when someone's really engaging as an artist, and when I go to a live show, and you feel the engagement that they have with the crowd, and they make you feel like the room's smaller. You always have a better time, and you always feel better about it, and you'll tell everybody about that show, right? And if somebody comes in and they're not as nice, then they'll just say, "Oh,
It was okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah," like Eric Church, for example. I mean, that was well,
Yeah.
we had a really good time at the Eric Church concert because it was just like he was engaging and he was aware of what was going on and where he was, and I don't know, just liked it.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you're in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel that way about streams too. It's like I find it so much more encouraging to financially support the people that like I'm getting to know. Like I consider them to be friends. They might be making music in another country. I've never met them in person, but I see them hustling. I see them doing this multiple times a week. They care about everybody that's there, and I actually get to be a part of that. So like when you talk about like you get to feel like you're a part of something for that one night at that concert, how magical it is to be a part of like their entire journey, which is why things like Patreon have been so life-changing, that I can just like leave a door open and say, if you want to come in and be a part of more than just a concert, just be a part of like my literal life, like you're welcome to. There's the door right there. And I think what I loved most about performing before streaming were house concerts. So not only the interaction of I'm actually talking in between songs and telling stories, but getting the stories from the audience was what I wanted just as much. So like I'd go and I'd tell this story about this weird bathroom at a venue I played at in Oakville, and all of a sudden there's this whole room of people. They're like, okay, I need to tell you about the weirdest bathroom I've ever been in right now. And I'm like, okay, lay it on me. So that interaction of actually talking to the audience at house concerts was my favorite. Like bar none, best shows were house concerts. I'm like, you want me to come and celebrate like your uncle's birthday? Let's do it. Let's all party and we'll tell stories. And that's exactly what streaming turned into. So everybody's just in the chat nonstop. So it's very strange kind of going back to that in-person show now, because then I'm just kind of playing a song and you clap, and like nobody's trying to jump scare me in the middle of a song, and no one's trying to tell me jokes while I'm just singing at you. So it's a very different energy that I'm kind of finding that I miss when I perform. Actually, interaction's important.
So we'll show up at Live and Elegant and just start throwing jokes at you and stuff. And by
Yes.
we, I mean me.
Yeah, like you will.
Yeah, like I would. I would be the stoic person in the background going,
So Dog's very he's
Well done.
nobody loves music like Dog. Dog's like huge music fan. He's a big fan of the community. But you look at him, say when you're playing, and you'd be like, why is that guy not having any fun? Because he just sort of sits there. He sits there nicely and like watches, but he's really enjoying it. It's just he just does. Whereas I'm the type that's like, I'm bouncing off the walls and like really like up and at him, like I'm enjoying the show my own way, and he enjoys it his way. So yeah, you'd look at Dog and be like, is he okay over there? And but he's fine. He's fine. He's just living the dream, living the dream
for sure.
I think we're a little bit the same, Gus, in that sometimes I'm invited specifically to certain things at the college for our students. They're like, oh, they've been having a rough time with the dress rehearsal or something, and you laugh really loud. So we're just gonna bring you and put you in the like the test audience. So I just have to go and like just laugh at everything. I'm like, I can do that. That's fine.
I'm happy to laugh.
Yeah.
Happy to laugh. Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, absolutely. You might as well bring some light in the room, man. Not that you're not bringing light. I'm just saying that you watch things. You're more methodical with the way you watch, and I'm more emotional.
Enjoying, that's wonderful. That's super, super great as a musician, because we don't often even get to play in those quiet rooms, right? That's another thing. Yeah. But you can. It's like the perfect introvert solution. Is you can just write me messages on Twitch. And you don't have to say anything. You can just write a message in the chat. It's going to pop up on the projector next to me and in front of me. And then I can be like, well done, Dog. Good joke.
Thank you very much.
So is there something else that's out there that you're trying, like you're interested in trying, you know, like I know you're out, I mean, you're on everything, like you're trying your best to get on different streaming services, and are you going to try Threads? Are you going to do things like that? Are you going to do everything?
We've just been working so hard on so many platforms for so long. I'm really happy to say that we just made YouTube partner because so many people were watching our videos. But for 2 years, we've been sharing 3 videos a week on YouTube. So a new song is released every single Sunday. I also make the download available for Patreon. So there's like over 100 songs people have access to on Patreon right now. So like just immediately download like 5 albums worth of stuff. Wow. And we release like highlights and clips from streams. And what we're doing this month is we release a video a day. So we're just like stuff on TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts. It's all going out there. I mean, Threads is something I'm going to have to take a look at. At first, it's just for me to kind of like figure things out if students have questions. And that's been like the driving force between a lot of my decisions is my students need me, or if I'm releasing things that are music or merch or anything on Patreon, it's people asking, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I do this for you because you want this. So I don't know why that motivates me so much, but that's really what gets me to go and do things is because other people need them. I'm like, okay, I will do that. So I mean, all of those platforms, we're on all of them, and it's unfortunately kind of a necessity as a musician, and I've kind of tried to rethink myself as a content creator more than a musician in the last couple of years. So even things like people will pop by stream and be like, oh, I like that you play this instrument. I wish I had a sample of that for my track, for my beat that I'm working on. And so what I did is I sat there with the patrons and we recorded a Basement Sounds sample pack, and it's just random instruments around that we packaged into 50 different sounds that people can use on their streams, use on their beats, stuff like that. So rethinking what it is to be a musician. Like sometimes I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna make weird noises with an orange shaker and record that, and then people can go use that in their music. So always being inventive with what it is you define your art as. And I think that the goals that I've had for so long, we've kind of tackled in these last couple of years, like doing more digital art, doing more kind of arts that we can put into prints in the merch shop and stuff. I've been very grateful that I've been able to be supported and encouraged to take on a lot of the things on the to-do list. But I think next is probably tackling Ableton, which I am very, very scared of. Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Wow, I never even heard of Ableton.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it's just how you're hearing me right now. So it's just the DAW that I'm using, but a lot of people use that for live looping. So whereas I've been using this pedal, it's just a foot switch that I control with my foot. It's really being able to control the entire loop system digitally, which is obviously scarier because computers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Very cool. Now, do you have like you've been talking about touring and stuff, do you have a dream venue that you'd like to play?
It's so funny because like I don't really have an answer to that. Like I don't even think of like theaters, that all of these things that even things that have happened these last few years, like meeting the two of you at that specific event, that wasn't on my bucket list because that felt so far beyond anything I would ever do in my life. So even everything that's happened these last couple of years, none of this was a goal because I never thought it achievable. And so I wasn't making steps towards it. And I'm very grateful every day that these things have happened. So I don't have specific venues or like theaters and places that I would love to play. I think that my dream would be to be able to sustain myself. It would be to be able to go and visit some of the friends that we've made on Twitch around the world in these last couple of years. And honestly, just doing a house concert tour would be the best. Like, so dream venues is like me playing in all of the homes of the people who have been in my home with me for the last 3 years of going and being able to just visit them throughout Europe. We've got friends in Australia, we've got friends in Africa, we got friends in South America too. So being able to do that venue tour, I think, is the dream.
That'd be cool.
That is. That sounds
Seriously,
pretty.
yeah, that'd be pretty darn cool.
I know, right? So cool. I think we should ask the question.
You do it.
Okay. So the Dog and Gus show, we ask the same question of every artist. And we didn't really divulge into your musical likes. You did mention jazz, but 80s or 90s music for you?
I'm sorry, it's got to be 90s.
Don't be sorry. I'm happy about it.
Okay. Okay.
I'm being brave. Don't be sorry.
I mean, I'm an 89 baby, so when I think about like nostalgia, so much of the 90s, Let's Dance 95, Nintendo 64, you know, all the things that you got mid 90s, it's just like unlocking your core childhood memories.
I like that.
We need older people on the show.
No.
Yes.
No, that's
Yes.
fine. We're all in the right place. I
If I
think.
can get a chance.
You're up, I think. I think you're actually up because, I mean, we've had young people, like really young people on the show, and they've said 80s. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
They did, for sure.
There you go. I don't know, I could still see Dog doing a Backstreet Boys dance.
Ooh.
I can see it. I can see it in my mind's eye.
Oh, I could love to see that,
Good thing that
please.
you could.
Oh, I would just be honored to see that.
No. That will not happen.
That's
Dog just sitting stoically at a Spice Girls concert.
yeah, exactly. Just looking like Marcus Aurelius in the crowd, you know, like just
Yeah.
like
I told Renaissance when he does one of his videos that I'll stand in the background and just go like,
Very good.
hey,
Very
man,
good.
everybody lives their life differently, you know.
that's what I want to do. I just want to be in a video
You
doing that.
won't even get me in the screen because I'll be like, zzz, zzz.
Yeah.
Where's Angus? Oh,
Well, there he goes. And he's back. Yeah.
So if as your career's evolved and you're doing exactly what you should be doing and what you want to be doing, is there something that you'd like to add to it, or is it just like, would you like to get into acting, or would you like to do some more art in a different form? Like, I know that you're painting and you're drawing and such. Do you feel like you're fulfilled as far as your artistic I guess appetite is going?
I think so. So that's just it. Like having those musical goals of switching things to be a little bit more digital and trying to build more of that into my stage show. Because obviously when you look at a room like this, a lot of this is very stationary, right? Like where am I going to... I couldn't possibly bring this with me places. It's all set up and wired in a very specific, safe way, and just bringing it around is not an option, right? So figuring out a way to be doing more of what I'm doing on stream in a live setting is an exciting possibility in the future that I'm working towards. And the visual art, I mean, I've been doing little things like you can create your own emotes on Twitch. So that's something that when you want to monetize, something that people get when they become a tiny dinosaur in the bowl is the ability to use like your specific channel art. So all these different emotions that they want to express in a chat, you can create all of those. So I worked towards that for a few years, getting comfortable doing that, doing a few different merch designs here and there, but now kind of being able to afford doing things like watercolors and the sketches that I've started doing the last couple months. That's brand new, so I have so much more to explore, and there's probably many years worth of experiments to do. But every month we bring people from Patreon to the studio with us, and sometimes we go and we visit Dean, and Dean spends the day with us and we record live with them in the studio on the stream. But this month they're going to be in the art studio, so we're actually going to do like our first acrylic pour experiment where everybody gets to choose the colors to be added and things like that. So lots of interesting ways to kind of practice your music and art, but also integrating that interaction where the community gets to decide on what it's going to look like while you're making it. So I think that's the future, is continuing to explore both of those things.
That's cool.
Very, very cool. Lots to learn. This Twitch thing is kind of scary. We're not doing that, right?
No. Well, not yet. I
I
mean,
think you'd love it.
No, you've got Gus going now. I can see the wheels turning in his head.
well, just I'm always open to some type of changes. You know,
Well, you'd be more
it's-
than welcome to join me on Twitch and see what it looks like. And we've got a whole section of our Discord as well for anybody who wants to kind of take the plunge and needs support. There's a whole support section, and everybody's very lovely to new streamers who are trying things for the first time. So do the scary thing.
We should do the scary thing, dog. I've told you this before. We do it. We don't worry about it. You just do it.
Okay, Nike, we got it.
Oh, yeah. You got,
You got it.
Yeah, well, okay.
You got this.
Just do it.
You got
Yeah.
this.
Oh, I got this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Danielle. We really appreciate you coming and spending a bit of time with us. And you're as lovely as ever. And we do appreciate you kind of breaking everything down for us and having an honest conversation. It was wonderful.
It was very nice. Very nice.
Thank you both for having me.
Yeah, we got to get you. I got a couple T-shirts and stuff for you. I got to get you some.
I will go see her at the shed.
Okay, and
Delightful.
stickers and T-shirt
Yeah.
and
Get me. I want a Tyrannosaurus Rex. You know, I'm all about the T-Rex, bro.
T-Rex, baby.
So you can go into that little bowl of magic that she has beside her and grab me a T-Rex.
do I have any T-Rexes here?
They're probably
Do I
really
have a
popular.
T-Rex for you?
When I was a little boy, I was all about T-Rexes and dinosaurs. So
Most boys are.
yeah, and apparently lovely women too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't find a T-Rex. I'm sorry. They're all in the bowl right now.
Well, you're out of luck. Let's pick something
I'll
else.
remember if you come by a stream, though. I'll remember. T-Rex for Gus.
Sounds
for Gus.
good. Gus the T-Rex.
T-Rex.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Danielle. We wish you the best. We'll be watching, and of course, we'll check you out. I'm going to check her out on Twitch.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, I think so. I
for you.
think I'm going to go on once and just like surprise her. You know, hey, what's going on?
Absolutely.
You know,
Oh, that
one
would
of
make me
these?
very, very happy. Yeah,
I'm
all the
gonna-
links are on my website, which is just danielleallard.com. And I mean, great ways to support is popping by Twitch. You can subscribe there, and that's hugely helpful. But Patreon is a place where you get a ton of perks, and it's really, really helpful for me. And checking out the Fourth Wall Shop, like all those things, life changing for musicians.
Amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'll do it the old-fashioned way. I'll go out in person.
You won't find her.
I will. So
Well, I mean, you got
Live
three
on Elgin,
opportunities.
Yeah,
you got
that's-
three
that's
shows.
true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very, very
The
good point.
the shed. 3 different places. Where she'll be live.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, thanks, Danielle. Take care of
Thanks
yourself.
so much. You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was the shortest one.